Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan and thank you so much for clicking on one of my bookish videos. Today I am so excited because, as you may be able to tell from the fun little pajamas I'm wearing, I am going to be talking about my fall TBR today. I have so many good books that I want to read this fall. I wanted to run you through some of the books on the top of my list. This is definitely not all of them, but these are the books that are the top of my priority. I have a bunch of new releases for this fall, but I also have a few rereads as well as a few books that are backlists, have been out for a while that I've been wanting to read, and I am super excited. So if you are interested in seeing my fall TBR, then keep on watching. Okay, first up we have If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. This is a very new release that I just picked up. The cover is absolutely so stunning, which is one of the big things that got me, but I have seen this book absolutely everywhere on Bookstagram. People have been raving about this one, and I'll be honest, normally this kind of gives a book or a romance book that I wouldn't want to pick up, but when you see so many good reviews from people that you really respect their opinions and you see a beautiful cover like this, it's kind of hard not to give in. This is, from my understanding, a small town romance book with very cozy fall vibes. I've heard it compared to Stars Hollow in Gilmore Girls and very similar like Gilmore Girl fall vibes, which is right up my alley. And it follows a girl, a woman who just lost her mother and has to go to this small town to take over her mom's inn for a few months, where she meets the local baker as her next door neighbor, and I guess they fall in love. This just sounds so cozy and so happy, and that's exactly what I want this fall, especially with a romance book, and I feel like small town is perfect for romance, so I am so excited to read this one. Okay, next is a book that I have had on my TBR for quite some time, and that is Chain Gang All-Stars. So I am planning to read this book on audio because I have the audiobook through Penguin Random House Audio, but I do have the physical book because this is just one of those books where I have a feeling I'm going to love it. And my understanding is it's a dystopian book, basically set in this world where there's this Chain Gang All-Stars pro sports program where basically like incarcerated people in America are chosen to be part of these chain gangs and fight to the death in these competitions, which is like televised throughout the United States and super popular. I've heard it compared to the Hunger Games, but a lot more gory and horrific, and I just feel like it's going to be something that's really going to horrify me, but for a dystopian novel be very accurate, and is something that is really interesting to me. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot from this, even though it is a fiction book, and I've just heard really great things, so I'm really excited to read this one. Okay, next I have a book that I actually have just started, but I'm barely, like, I think I'm like 50 pages in, and that is It's Different This Time by Joss Richard. This was gifted to me by Dell Romance, so thank you very much to them. This was not really on my radar, and then I feel like it's been talked about a lot recently because it comes out at the end of September, and I've only heard good things. It is a second chance romance. Again, cover is absolutely beautiful. It gives definitely very cozy fall New York City vibes. It's set in New York City. It follows this girl who is an actress who has just lost her last like TV gig and is struggling to find a permanent acting job. And she receives an email that tells her that she needs to come to New York City because she has to review legal documents about this property that she used to stay in when she lived in New York with her ex-best friend. And she is thrown into this very crazy world and situation with her ex, who she hasn't talked to in years. I have just heard really great things. I've heard this author's writing compared to Emily Henry, which is crazy for a debut author. I'm really excited. I feel like it's going to be really emotional, and I love second chance romance. Okay, next I have a fantasy series that I really want to read. I believe it's a trilogy. trilogy, and it is the Burning Kingdoms series, and book one is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I, first of all, love this cover so much. I think the artwork is so beautiful. This is, I believe, like a epic high fantasy, and I have just only heard great things about it. It is a fantasy feminist story with a sapphic romance, I believe, which really pulled me in. It says, trapped by her despotic brother within the crumbling walls of an ancient temple, Princess Malini dreams of vengeance. Forced to disavow her birthright and her power because of her past, maidservant Priya dreams of freedom. In a world beset by wild magic and turbulent uprising, their destinies will become irrevocably tangled, and together they will set an empire ablaze. I'm really excited. I feel like I need a really good fantasy series to just become obsessed with this fall, and I honestly haven't had that in a bit, and I feel like this is going to be right up my alley. Okay, next we have a very fun young adult romance, and that is You Found Oliver by Dustin Tao. This comes out at the end of September, and this is the companion novel to You've Reached Sam. And let me tell you, when I read You've Reached Sam, I think around the time of the pandemic, I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorite young adult books, and it made me cry so hard. So when I saw that Dustin was releasing a companion novel following Oliver after the events of You've Reached Sam, I was so excited, and I'm so grateful to Penguin Teen for gifting me this advance copy. This is following Sam after, again, the events of the first book and his life in college, and just him going on a healing journey, working through grief, and being in this new magical relationship with this other boy named Ben. And it involves a lot of, I think, like universe and soulmates type magic, which I think is kind of cool, like almost a magic realism. And I've heard really, really good things. So I'm excited for this. I hope it lives up to how much I liked the first book. Okay, I've been saying that I'm going to read this book for like the past few months, and now that its release month is next month, I believe, I am determined to read it, and that is Our Vicious Oaths by N.E. Davenport. So I have heard really, really great things about this author's book, and this copy was gifted to me by Harper Voyager, so thank you very much to them. I'm very excited to get into this book and see how N.E. Davenport writes fantasy and romantasy, and this is marketed as a new world of romantic fantasy from award-winning author N.E. Davenport, a journey of powerful magic, enemies to lovers romance, and political intrigue as a warrior princess and a vengeful king from rival fae courts form a fierce alliance to take down a merciless despot. So I have had a weird situation with romantasy over the past few months, which is why I did not end up picking this up over the summer, but I feel like now that we're in the fall and I have recently enjoyed some romantasy books, I'm excited to read this one and see what I think. I feel like it's going to be unique in the genre. Okay, next we have a reread that I'm so excited about, and I don't know why in my mind I was like, yes, I need to reread this book in October, but that's how I've been for like the past few months since the movie adaptation was announced, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. So this is Ali's first book, and this was the first book of hers that I read, so it holds a very special place in my heart. However, I have enjoyed each of her books more and more with each new release, and I've never reread this one, so I'm very interested to see if it holds up to enjoying it as much as I did the first time now that I've read the rest of her releases. And if you don't know what this is about, this is a fake dating trope, a fake relationship between a professor and a PhD student, and the PhD student, Olive, does not believe in long-lasting romantic relationships, and when she meets Adam Carlson, who is the professor, her whole world goes spinning out of control. I'm really excited. I'm so excited for this movie, and I just can't wait to reread one of Ali's books. Okay, another fantasy book that I have had on my TBR is Iron Widow. I love the cover. I don't know much about this book, but I have heard such good things about it, and my understanding is it's a young adult fantasy book. It's following this girl whose sister was killed, and so she signs up in this war to avenge her sister, and she is labeled as the Iron Widow, which is a much feared kind of female pilot who sacrifices boys to power up. And she's paired with another controversial male pilot in this like army system. I'm very interested in it. I feel like I may listen to the audiobook because I've heard the audiobook's pretty good, and I will keep you guys updated. Okay, the next book that I really want to read is the Jasad Crown by Sarah Hashim, I believe. It is the follow-up to the Jasad Heir, and it's the final book in this duology, and I really enjoyed the first book. I thought it was a really good fantasy romantasy. I really enjoyed the audiobook, so I'm definitely planning on listening to the audiobook for this one. I feel like it's just a very unique fantasy book. It's an Egyptian set fantasy world, Egyptian inspired, and the female main character is so fierce and strong and relentless in her journey to avenge her family and also uncover the truth of her magical powers in the world she lives in. And it has so many timely themes and topics within it, so I'm very excited to finish the series. Next, I will be picking up as soon as it comes out at the end of September, Holly by Adeline Grace. This is the like holiday themed novella follow-up to the Belladonna series, which is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I read it this time last year and absolutely loved it. It is the perfect gothic romantasy series for the fall, and I've heard really good things about the novella from people who read it early. I think it's holiday themed, which would be perfect going into the like Christmas holiday season, and I believe it follows Signa and Blythe from the Belladonna series and like what they're getting up to in the holidays. I could be totally wrong, but I love Adeline Grace's writing, so I feel like I'm gonna love this novella. Next, I am going to be reading The Heartbreak Hotel by Ellen Clover. This is releasing this week, and I'm already halfway through it, and I really am loving it so far. It's definitely a bingeable book. This is a romance book. I do feel like it's very cozy vibes, which is good for like the fall. It follows Louisa and Henry, and Louisa has just been broken up with by her long-term boyfriend, and she's determined to keep the house that she's been living in the past like 5 years, and she has to persuade her landlord Henry to let her keep the house, and because she doesn't have enough money to pay for it, she decides to pitch the idea to turn it into an inn, like a bed and breakfast. But over time, the idea molds into her hosting this Heartbreak Hotel where people who are dealing with all sorts of loss and grief, whether it's people who have just lost loved ones who've died or people who are dealing with a breakup or a heartbreak, come, and it's just a really healing experience for Louisa and Henry being in this house together, and I am loving it so far. I feel like it's just such a wonderful healing romance book. Okay, a book that I really want to reread this fall that I told myself I was going to reread is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. So I listened to this audiobook before it came out in May and absolutely loved it. This is one of my favorite books of the year. I think about it all the time, and it is just the perfect gothic romantasy vibes for the fall, and I really want to physically reread this book in the fall because I feel like it's just going to make me enjoy the book even more. So that is my plan, probably later in the fall when I can really just like soak it up. There is so much fun banter within this book, especially for a fantasy, especially with the gargoyle, shout out Bartholomew, and I loved Sybil's character and the romance in it, so I'm very excited to reread. Another new release that is not yet out, but I'm so excited for is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I love Ali's writing so much, and the first book in this series, Bride, is one of my favorites of her books. It's like a romantasy. It follows a vampire and a werewolf falling in love, and Mate is within the same series, but I believe it follows a like werewolf and a human falling in love. I could be really wrong. Anyway, I don't really know what it's about, but I know that it's in the same series as Bride, and I loved Bride, and I love Ali Hazelwood's romance books. They're so fun and just like so unique in the romance genre, and I just feel like Mate is going to be perfect to read in October around Halloween fine. Last but certainly not least, another reread that I promised myself that I was gonna do in the fall is my third reread of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab this year. I have already read this book twice so far this year. I read an early copy and then I also read it again when it released. But I have heard such fantastic things about the audiobook for Bury Our Bones. It's narrated by Julia Whalen and two other voice actors and actresses that I'm a big fan of. I just feel like listening to this audiobook in the fall will be perfect. So whenever I have the time to fit it in, I am hoping to listen to the audiobook. This is my favorite book of the year. I think it is so good. It is following three vampires in three different time periods. They all are turned into vampires against our will, and they are dealing with the hunger, the anger, the obsession of being a vampire and running into other young females to fall in love with and also turn into vampires. And yeah, I'm so excited to listen to this audiobook. Okay, so I think that is it for this little TBR video. I have so many good books on my fall TBR this year. This is not even all of them. These are just the ones that I am determined to get to by the end of the year, because honestly, I count like November going into December as fall. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of really good fantasy books, a lot of good romance books on here. I would love to hear if you have any other books in different genres that you think I should check out, especially literary fiction, general fiction, any thrillers that you think I would enjoy. I'm always down to put books on my TBR. Hopefully you got some ideas for new releases and books that would be great to read during the fall season. And if you enjoyed watching this video, I would love it if you subscribe for more videos from me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.